Matt, what has been kind of like your tone and what you want these guys to come to this phase of the offseason program to get done?
Compete, bring great energy each and every day, and I think the guys have responded well to that. I can't, it's early, but I'm really excited about this group and their ability to come together, compete, to push each other. I feel like there's a lot of good juice out there right now in our competitive periods. I've been happy with that. And then, we've done a lot of our team periods, our 11 on 11 have been a little bit slower paced, more teaching. Early on, I think it allows us to get more reps. We're two-spotting everything, so guys are getting enough reps. Obviously, I think that's a pretty important part of it when you have some younger guys and then you're implementing a new system. So that's kind of why we went that way.
Is JJ full go, or are you guys kind of still easy?
Yeah, he's full go. He's doing a great job out there.
I know he had said he had tore it at the end of the season. Any indication what that injury actually was?
No, he never had surgery and didn't tear it. So we dodged a bullet there.
It sounded like after the draft that was still kind of to be determined on whether or not that was going to be needed in the future. Have you guys cleared that? Has that been determined that he is not going to need surgery?
Yeah, I think he's been doing great out there, and he's just been working his tail off.
I know we've all talked a lot about Christian Watson since back in February. How's he look so far? I know he had a few big plays today.
Yeah, he's again another guy that's doing a great job, showing up with a great attitude every day, and just working. And it's fun to see just how far and how much further he is mentally as a player going into year 3, and the rapport that he's been able to develop with Jordan and just that whole room, their ability to come together and push one another, because that's obviously a very competitive room. We've got a lot of depth there.
Different.
Oh, go ahead, Rob.
No, I was just saying, do you have a different plan for him from a workload standpoint or anything than you've had in his previous years?
No, I think it's just, some of the training methods and then him making sure that he's doing all the little things when he's away from here. And I think he's embraced that and has been very disciplined in his approach. And so he is in a really good place right now.
It's May 21st, but do you feel like you've got the answers there that you feel confident?
Well, I think time will tell. Certainly you got to get through the entire off season into training camp, and there's a lot of volume in training camp. So I think we get through that, then we'll feel pretty good about it. But both he and Stokes look like they're in probably the best shape I've seen either one of them.
When it comes to Eric, I don't know if you've been around guys that have had so much time so early in their career away from the field. It's been basically a year and a half. He's just barely been able to play. Have you seen that, a young guy go through that before and have to come back from that?
Well, I'm sure I have. Put me on the spot right now. I can't think of anybody per se, but it happens. But I think what this offseason has afforded him was an opportunity to really train. It's a lot different when you're coming off an injury and you're trying to rehab versus when you're fully healthy and you can train the right way. I think just when you look at him physically, his body looks different. Certainly he's hitting some very fast speeds out there on practice. Obviously we monitor all that. And I can tell mentally he feels like he's in a great place.
Have you seen the biggest difference in Jordan this offseason after a year under his belt as a starter compared to last season?
I just think you feel the confidence from him, the way he projects himself in front of the team, and and that's what you expect. You expect guys to continue to push and get better and better and better, and the command that he has of the offense, I know the guys, they all respect the hell out of him, just in terms of who he is as a man and the work that he puts in, and he's so consistent. He shows up every day with a great attitude and, just being one of the guys.
Guys around the league who are awaiting new big contracts don't show up to this part. What does it say about Jordan that he is, and how important is that for you guys?
Oh, it's everything to us. I think if you look at our attendance here, and I know we had one guy missing today for a personal matter, but, you know, we've had almost 100% the entire offseason, which has been the best that we've had since I've been here. So, and I always think that when you look around the league, when your quarterback's there, just naturally has a way of attracting everybody to come. And we're still a very young football team as well. And so these guys, they want to put in the work. I think we got a lot of guys that love the game and love the process of grinding together and going through some tough things together. And but to have him here is, you can't put a value on that.
Do you think it's his example and the youth of the team? Because you came into the league and these were voluntary, really in name only, right? Coaches got really ticked if you weren't there. And then we had this shift where it appeared veteran players really did start taking it as voluntary. And now to look at your numbers today, it really does kind of pop off the field that you've got that good of attendance.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great situation for us to be in, especially when you're implementing a new system. And certainly there's a lot of room for improvement on teams as well as on our offense. So you always have new players. It's important for them to be here and witness how the vets go about their business, how they prepare for practice, how they go out there and practice. And one thing that we always talk about is what are our standards? And so to push those each and every day to try to get better. And I can't, again, the vibe around here has been unbelievable. These guys enjoy being around each other, and they enjoy the game of football, and they're just out there competing and getting better and better and better.
Is Josh Jacobs working through something? Because he did the stretch portion today, but didn't partake in the outside drills.
Yeah, he's working through a little hamstring issue, and I know everybody's gonna like freak out, but he's on the mend. He's doing a good job, and we anticipate him back pretty shortly.
Tucker Kraft, we saw the arm in the sling.
Yeah, Tuck's going to be out until training camp, and then hopefully he's back by training camp. If not, it should be early on. But just one of those unfortunate deals, and he's on the Matt LaFleur plan right now.
How are you feeling?
I feel great. Yeah. Got to give a shout out to Dr. Cardasco in New York. He does a hell of a job.
Matt, how do you feel like the rookies are meshing with the vets?
Oh, they've been great. And I think that's one thing personally that I have so much appreciation for Goody and his staff for the type of people that they bring in the building. Guys that you can never be around enough high character people that love the game of football, that are willing to put in the work and are very coachable, and it makes it a lot easier to come to work each and every day. It gives you more excitement to come in here and to try to build something special together.
Matt, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of competition at safety, but Anthony Johnson Jr. got a lot of the reps with the ones today. What have you seen out of him in year two?
Yeah, he's done a nice job. He's trying to take his game to the next level, and certainly it's definitely a different scheme, and so there's a lot of new learning, but it's far from perfect, but you attack it the right way with the right mentality, you're going to get the most growth, and that's what we're seeing from him, and he's done a great job, and he's embraced the competition, because that's going to be a great competition there, just with the number of young guys that we got coming in, and there's a couple of vets there too they're going to push them.
When you brought Jeff Hafley on board, there was that term about defense more from the back end, and what do you see about the role that Xavier's going to have to play and the guy next to him? I mean, how does that shift from what you've had the last couple of years?
Well, X is obviously he's a very talented player. Otherwise, you wouldn't reward him with that type of contract. But he's another guy. I just can't say enough great things about him. It's not a shock to why he was a captain in New York, and he's a very intelligent player. Some of the stuff that we're doing is different than things that he's done in his past, but he's a quick learner, and he loves the game of football, and I think it's absolutely critical to have a guy like him for all those guys that are inexperienced around him, because he can get them up to speed a little bit faster. I think there's there's certain ways that when you're out there playing the game, that you can articulate things maybe a little bit different than the coaching, and to make it easier, we all learn a little bit differently. Certain things are going to hit our brains differently, but to have a player that can help reinforce that, I think, is critical.
Right, just before motion, something that changes, and just to get the secondary on.
Oh, yeah, you better have that, especially in our league. Otherwise, you get gutted. So he's a great addition here, and he shows up every day. Again, he's a great worker, and he's been fun to be around. Just getting to know him, he's embraced it here, and I don't want to speak for him, but he seems to be enjoying himself, and he's already found a house here, and so he's fully embedded in the community.
What's going on with Zach, Tom?
Same thing as Tuck. So we're all on that plan, and yeah, that was a pec injury, and just an unfortunate coincidence. But again, no long-term concern. He will be a guy that we anticipate back for camp.
He had a really, really good year for you last year at right
Yeah.
tackle. I know that you guys are all in on the best five, however that looks, but is he exempt from that with how good of a right tackle he played for you?
Yeah, he did a great job, but I think it's still, he provides so much flexibility because he's been able to, he's played multiple positions, and so that really affords you the best opportunity to get the best five out there wherever it may, fall. So we know what he can do obviously at right tackle. We got a large sample size, so we feel really good about that. And again, it'll sort itself out eventually down the road.
How do you think Quay's done kind of taking leadership of that room, especially with the young guys coming in?
I think he's done an outstanding job. Just comes here and goes to work every day. A lot of learning's taken place. We're asking these guys to do some different things that they've done from his past, but he's embraced that challenge.
Did Colby Wooden come back with a little different body type, sort of? He looked different.
I think a lot of our guys do, quite frankly, but he certainly is one of them. He's put on a few LBs. I think that'll do him well, especially with some of the things we're going to ask him to do. And so, but he's looked great up to this point.
Now, you talked about doing things defensively, maybe a little bit slower speed. So what does that process look like, and when do you start to speed things up?
I think it's going to happen organically. Just kind of, we kind of approached the off season last year in a similar fashion. That first week was more jog through, and we started to pick up the tempo as we went. I obviously want to be mindful and make sure we're doing things the right way around here, but I think learning how to practice is part of the process. You got a lot of new guys in there, and they got to learn, and we'll pick up the speed as we progress later throughout OTAs.
Not that you want Zach hurt, not that Zach wants to be hurt, but is there at least some upside there that you can move Jordan over there, or you got Dillard, you can give those guys some looks against your ones and maybe get a better feel for what you got there?
Hey, glass half full, Bill. Yeah, obviously, Zach's got a large sample size, and that provides more opportunity for some of these guys that we're not as familiar with to get out there and show what they can do.
How does Jordan look right side? He's been a left side guy this whole time.
Yeah, he's done a good job, but again, we've had 2 practices, and we're not going full speed. I think his head's spinning at times, but that's part of the process. A lot of us are going to learn more from when we make mistakes than we are our successes, and so. But he's been a lot of fun to work with.
Chris just a daily visitor today, or is that something more?
No, he just asked if he could come out to practice, and he's a guy that I've got a ton of respect for and what he's been able to accomplish, and so it was good to have him out of practice today. We're going to have a lot of visitors through here, if you guys didn't notice.
Matt, going back to Watson for a second, I know it's only 2 OTA practices, but if you guys have found the solution there and you're able to have him healthy, how different, you have a lot of guys you really like in that room, I get it, but he's a different kind of player. How different is it for you offensively if you got that figured out?
Well, he's incredibly bright. which allows us to move him all over the place. Certainly he brings just the sheer size and physicality and speed that he possesses. You better know where he's at all times, because all it takes is one play. If he gets a sliver of light, he's able to outrun everybody on the defense. So yeah, he definitely changes and tilts the field in our favor when he's out there.
Matt, I could be misremembering, but I thought in the past you said you weren't a fan of 7-on-7 drills, but there's.
I'm not. But I want to make that clear right now. I'm not a fan of that. I just think it's not realistic. It puts the quarterback, I like the quarterbacks having to feel a rush, but what we're making a big emphasis on is perfect feet, making sure the guys go through their progressions, having perfect feet, and when they're not, they hear about it. So, but I just think, again, off season, where we're at, a new defense, it's important for them to understand the drops that we want them to take. So we implemented it.
With only one home preseason game, will you have joint practices with the Ravens?
We will. And we may be going on the road for a joint practice as well. Actually, we are going on the road. We're going to Denver.
How do you feel you benefited from having the multiple weeks last week? What made you decide to do that again? How do you think about the best?
I just love getting exposure to, new systems, new challenges, and you can look around the league and there's similar systems that you may or may not play, and so it's good to get work against that. I think allows you to play your starters a little bit longer in a little bit more controlled setting, where you're not putting them at risk as much. There's always an inherent risk when you step out on the grass, but when you're staying up, you're not going to the ground. I think that you get a lot of great work. It's great going against the other team in terms of their starters, to see kind of where you're at. It gives you a great gauge, and it just, quite honestly, it breaks up the monotony of camp. I mean, camp can get long, and I've always embraced those opportunities to go against other teams, and the way we're going to do it this year. So we'll have Baltimore for one practice, and we'll go to Denver for one practice. I liked that last year when we practiced against Cincinnati, and we all know how it can go on day 2. Sometimes it becomes a wrestling match out there, or a MMA fight. So we're trying to avoid that at all costs and just get good quality work. And it gives our guys, especially when we go on the road to Denver, it gives our team an opportunity to kind of bond together and spend a few days together.
Say avoid it at all costs. Have you pretty much given up on day 2s then for joint practice? Like, that's just not going to happen anymore?
I don't want to never say never, but for this year, yes.
Two more, please. How's it been with, watching Jeff Hafley do his thing, roaming around the defensive side? I saw him talk with Javon Bullard and a few of the other rookies and helping them up. How's it been for you as a head coach watching a guy that was a head coach at the college level do his thing?
Yeah, it's been exciting. I think one of the benefits, definitely having him here, is he understands what will sometimes come across your desk, and he's always trying to avoid bringing any other problems or whatever it may be to the attention of the head coach, and I appreciate that. I think he's a guy that I can lean on internally, and certainly do the same with Rich as well.
Man, I know it's early, but what are your impressions early on, obviously, of kind of the place-kicking battle that's going to go on, and how those guys are doing?
Yeah, I think it's a work in progress, and everybody's had their day, so to speak, and we'll just let it play out and unfold.
You should hear us reporters banter on makes or misses. That's comedy.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you can't see.
Hey, Matt, real quick, you mentioned X and you paid him because he's an elite player, but that additional stuff, the stuff that made him a captain in New York, how important is that, especially given kind of the makeup of your team? Kenny's a quieter leader, kind of, right? How important is it to have a guy like that in?
Yeah, I think it's critical to have somebody on the back end making sure the communication's on point, and just what he's all about. And you could, like, when he came here, when we signed him, when we went out to dinner together, I had a really good feel, just initial gut feel that this is a dude. And my experience with him up to this point is exactly that. He is a dude, and we're fortunate to have him here.